Arguably, the transfer saga of the summer is finally completed in the EFL Championship as former Championship Golden Boot winner Chuba Akpom finally ends up back in the division at pre-season title favourites Ipswich Town. We have gone backward and forward, left and right, up and down, all over the place on this one over the past week or more. Get your thoughts in. Akpom to Ipswich. What difference will that transfer make over the course of this season? It's a big player into one of the big players, we think, in the promotion pitch of the market, and the bookies seem to certainly intimate so. Now, I'll try and remember the timeline of this, but as I say, we have been literally all over the place. So I don't know exactly when the first date this all got mooted was, but the first link was to Birmingham City, and it was going to be this kind of loan deal into Birmingham that we thought was going to be Akpom's route back into the Championship. Obviously, Birmingham have had a fantastic transfer window. I think 9 players in, and this is before Marvin Duksch, the German striker, was confirmed, although that link predates Akpom. So we knew Birmingham, despite bringing in Koyogo, were in the market for a striker, a goal scorer. Akpom, well, it's been a coin flip, a debate since that brilliant season at Middlesbrough. The argument, is he a 9, is he a 10, can he do either? What's his best position? Is he both? Is he useful to a Championship club? If he plays anything like he did for Middlesbrough, then obviously he is. So Birmingham's interest was there. And then this alerted former club Middlesbrough, who then also seemed to get involved. And it's always a kind of simple story to sell to a player. Where did you have the best season of your life? Middlesbrough. Why don't you come back and do it all over again? You know the club, you know the area, you know the way to goal up at the Riverside. So here come Middlesbrough getting involved. And this gets far, far more incestuous because at this time, Middlesbrough and Ipswich are haggling over a deal for Hayden Hackney, Middlesbrough's central midfield, kind of jewel in the crown type figure, young English player. This had been rumbling on way before the Akpom thing started, and it had looked like Ipswich had put down and had an offer accepted, a big one with obligations and back end and things of that nature, around the 20 million or even over mark. But that deal was kind of at this time falling through, or Hackney, keep an eye on it, we think might have his eye on a move to the Premier League at maybe Spurs or West Ham. Obviously, since then, James Maddison has been confirmed as being out for the season. So Spurs maybe a bit thin on the ground there. And Son Heung-min has also been sold from the Premier League club. So the idea is that Middlesbrough, who haven't really been able to get anywhere near, say, Birmingham or Ipswich in the transfer market, were going to be able to, because here was going to come a big pot of money. And in true Championship fashion, you build stars, you sell them, and then you invest the money that you maybe get for one player in another 2 or 3. The Hackney deal is not going to happen, though. So Middlesbrough maybe not in a position to move on players, even though Akpom's a former player and it was seen to be a loan deal. Now, did this alert Ipswich? I don't know. And you'll probably never get an honest answer from anybody in any of the clubs. But the idea that Ipswich were alerted to Akpom by Birmingham's interest is something that has been put out there. You tell me. Anyway, in come Ipswich to have a look at Chuba Akpom. And it is then reported that Akpom favours the move to Ipswich. I don't know why or whether that's true. You can debate that in the comments. Just use some humility if you support either club, and if you don't know, you don't know, and a rumour is a rumour. And this is early last week as well. And the idea is then, Ipswich are going to come in for a loan for Akpom. And, I mean, we can talk about which is the better move, having watched the two clubs play on Friday night, which then becomes an even bigger wrinkle in this saga as we go on. Reports are then, I think, Tuesday, that Akpom is diverted off to Ipswich and he's going to do a medical, and then we're going to start discussing terms for Akpom, not Middlesbrough, not Birmingham, but to go to Ipswich. Now, this is where it seems to get kind of tactical, and a lot of Birmingham fans are claiming moments of genius. I don't know from the people their end, because we think the goalposts then move as Birmingham are then supposedly bidding outright to sign Akpom, which Ajax obviously prefer, the club where Akpom is, in that they're immediately going to get money for the player. I'm sure Birmingham would have paid good money for Akpom as well, because they've been very ambitious in this transfer window. So then in the middle of last week, we're having it reported that, oh, well, Ajax prefer the deal. The player is kind of tied up and everything and ready to go to Ipswich. Was it a delaying tactic? I don't know. Again, you're never going to get an honest answer. You're never going to find out from anyone. After the fact, people will claim it was and it worked. We don't know. Let's be honest about that if we weren't in the room. But all of this was happening with, and remember, registration moves forward a day if your game's on Friday rather than on Saturday, with the idea that could Akpom be joining the Championship at one of two clubs if Middlesbrough are not in the picture at this point, and literally come straight in to the big first game, the curtain raiser in the Championship. Then things went quiet, and two signings were announced, one at Birmingham and one at Ipswich, as Jens Kajust arrived back at Ipswich. He'd been there last season. And at Birmingham, Marvin Dukes was then announced. And we actually saw Marvin Dukes on the pitch, kind of paraded before Birmingham versus Ipswich. But Chuba Akpom, silence. Strange. Deal not complete, even though we think terms had been agreed on Tuesday, or certainly medicals had been done. Did things change after Birmingham went in with that bid? Was there another contract offer which was, oh, well, we've now been offered this, you're going to have to counter? Did that delay Ipswich? Did Birmingham do a delaying tactic? I don't know. I was at Birmingham versus Ipswich, and I was lucky enough to be around all the journalists and in the press conference at the end, and I couldn't get anything. And Kieran McKenna was asked about it, and very kind of, I don't know, calmly sort of pushed it aside and said, it's a deal we think we had locked up. I don't really know what the hold-up is, and this obviously is on Friday night after Ipswich and Birmingham played out a 1-1 draw. Were we going to see Akpom unveiled by one of the clubs in the curtain raiser? Didn't happen in the end. Championship round 1 then takes place, and we get to Sunday night, and finally Akpom is announced at 9 p.m. Wow. It went around the houses, as I say, up, down, left, right, back and forth. Akpom ends up at Ipswich in the end after loan bids from Birmingham and Middlesbrough, and we think an outright transfer bid from Birmingham. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on what impact Chuba Akpom might have. As I say, he's been a Championship Golden Boot winner in that season, partnered with Cameron Archer, who's now obviously at Southampton, when Middlesbrough finish in 4th and get all the way to the playoffs, but lose in the semi-finals to Coventry. And as tends to happen now with Championship teams that lose in the playoffs, the best players get picked off, and he immediately went off to Ajax. Local reports from Ipswich since the transfer have happened have said he's been bought to play as a number 9 rather than as a number 10. Ipswich has obviously got George Hurst in that position. They've got Sammy Smodics and maybe Connor Chaplin to play in the number 10 position. Obviously, Amari Hutchinson and Nathan Broadhead are at Ipswich, but perhaps this deal now means that you'll see another Twitter alert with maybe Nathan Broadhead holding up a Wrexham shirt because we think that had all been kind of lined up and maybe slowed down by this deal not happening. And we know bidding war maybe between Nottingham Forest and Brentford for Amari Hutchinson, who looks set to move back to the Premier League at some point in this transfer window. Could it be one of the biggest deals of the summer? If you take a Golden Boot winner and he's anywhere close to where he was previously, and he's in a year one parachute team and he does the business, that could be the type of difference-making deal that we will be talking about at the end of the season as a really important one. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Hopefully, I've not garbled the timeline of that and summed that up reasonably well. However, if you need anything more on that, as I say, this deal broke at 9 p.m. last night, where I was hosting the Blue Monday podcast, and all of a sudden, everything went mad in the comments. If you want an absolute live, unfiltered reaction, click up there for Blue Monday. And click down there to see my vlog from this game that Chuba Akpom could have, but didn't play between Birmingham and Ipswich this past Friday.